This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks show number 369, recorded on September 6th, 2018. Here at Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way to your home, and even some that don't. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the Average Guy TV studios here in a beautiful Bellevue, Nebraska. I think fall is finally on its way. Mike, we tried to get a Husker game in last weekend. In the 20 years I've lived in Nebraska, I've never seen a football game canceled for lightning.
Because neither have I. And they said it was some massive number. In 129 games or 100, like it was years since they have had a game canceled at Memorial Stadium.
Most bizarre, we have a brand new coach. There's high expectations. That place was on fire. Like Memorial Stadium, Lincoln, Nebraska, there's no better place to watch football than that place. And it was packed and it was red and it was rocking, and they came out and did a kickoff, and Akron kicked it out of the end zone, and that was all the football we got. Lightning struck, and they called it off, and they ended up canceling the game. And so kind of weird, but I'm hoping fall. And it hasn't stopped raining here. I think we've gotten like 5 inches or 6 inches of rain in the last 3 days. It's been
consistently. And, for those of you who don't follow college football or Husker football specifically, this probably wouldn't have been a big deal any other year, but we have Scott Frost back. He was the coach who took a team from 0-12 to 12-0 last year. He was a former Nebraska quarterback, and he's our coach this year. So the hype, Jim, I don't know if, you've been a Husker fan obviously longer than me, but I've been a Husker fan my whole life, and I've never seen the hype that big. It was, it reminds me of back when we were like a year after we had won a championship and we were going to go back to back, like if not higher than that, because we haven't been that good. Yeah. So there's this huge hype, the buzz, the kickoff, and then they call it off, and we don't get to see the first game. So that's why it made it such a big deal. Every person in Nebraska, even if you weren't a fan, they were paying attention to it in some way.
Mm-hmm. I can't imagine the money lost.
I can't. Well, and people were paying outrageous amounts for those tickets secondhand. I mean, there were $50, $60 tickets that were selling for $500, $600. And can you imagine paying that much, going down there and not getting to see the game?
It's just one of those, I'm a weather nerd. And so we were watching the thing coming in, and then it just kept raining. But I've never seen a football game canceled due to lightning. And they just can't. I mean, it's done. I don't think they're going to play it again. So kind of crazy. We have had a string, both the last 2 storms that have come through have literally circled over us. And so it's rained for 2 days or 3 days straight, and we're soggy here in Nebraska.
When you watch a radar in Omaha, usually 99.9% of the time it goes west to east. It comes straight across, and that's how you can see. But yeah, you're right. Lately, it'll like circle from northeast down to southwest and just spin right on us. And we don't get that very often. Sometimes with snowstorms more actually than rain, but it's just so it is rare. And you're right. It just keeps
ruin the weekend, ruin the football game, ruin the holiday.
Everyone's yards too, because you cannot get out there and mow unless you want to trash your yard and go through it when it's wet. But so everyone's grass is super long because you haven't been able to mow. It's been raining nonstop.
Super green here in Nebraska. I mean, it's blindingly green.
It looks great if it wasn't about a foot high.
I know. Yeah, it's crazy. Well, of course, we post the show with world-class show notes each week at the Average Guy TV, AverageGuy.tv/live. Let's just say it that way. You can also, don't forget, our new mobile app. I shouldn't say new. It's actually really old. But now sponsored by the Patreon subscribers. So we appreciate you guys that are faithful every single month to donate, to support us out there. If you want to get a hold of the app, homegadgetgeeks.com is the way to do it. Don't forget, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen, wherever that just happens to be. And then don't forget, we'll have some crypto updates in the post show. Mike, we got a little bit of housekeeping to do early here, a little bit of community cleanup before we dig in. We're going to talk a little bit about NextCloud with you. I got to tell you, Mike, like I was going to say this in the pre-show and I thought I'd save it. Like when you don't do anything small, like you decide you're going to do something, you sell the farm, you move to the city, and then you get to the city and you're like, I'd really like to have a farm. And you sell your apartment or the condo in the city and you move back to the farm. And I got to hand it to you, dude. I think I'm adventurous, but when you decide to do something, you're all in. It's crazy. And
Well, yeah, and I'm all in, but to Hannah's dismay, I'm all in now. Like if I think of something, even I could be sitting in bed, we'll be about to go to bed, it's 10:30. I'm like, oh, that would be a sweet addition. And I run down and then I'm up till 3 a.m. because I have to do it when I think of it. So it's a curse sometimes, and sometimes it blows up in my face, right? Like because I jump ship and then maybe that wasn't the best decision and this software is not really the best. And so I have to, go back with my tail between my legs to whatever I was using before. But yeah, you're right. I usually, if I'm going to jump into something, I don't half-ass it. I'm
like you have done that in the show where we've been talking about something, and by the end of the program, you have it installed, you're using it. I'm like, dude, we're still live.
I think it was the Raspberry Pi gaming show. I think I had the emulator up and I was playing games on my Raspberry Pi by the end of the show. We had a guest on. I can't remember who was talking about it.
Dwayne.
Dwayne. Yeah, it was Dwayne. And yeah, you're right.
So this NextCloud deal, like literally, you had UnRaid up in a weekend, and then you had NextCloud up the next weekend, and we'll talk about that here shortly. A couple things. One, I am live all day tomorrow from Heartland Developer Conference here in Omaha. I was live today only to find out I didn't have the right audio setting, and I was too arrogant to like check my own thing as we were doing it. Like, hey, like any normal person does one video and then goes back and checks it to be like, oh, hey, you should check these things, right? But Jim just was like, oh yeah, I got a whole day of doing this thing. I wasn't checking chat. I didn't really care. I was just doing it. Like I'm good at this. Well, I was on the camera mic. Huge. Like that's two gigantic rookie mistakes for me in a row. Like
wait, what was the first one?
Last week I did an interview with somebody at work where I was being interviewed and I didn't get the right mic setting because I was using Skype. Anyways, tomorrow I'll have it fixed. If you want to come out and join me live, head out to Silicon Prairie News, all one word, siliconprairienews.com/live. I'll be on starting about 10 and we'll go to about 2:30. And if you want to hang out with me, I'm not really checking chat. So we're not doing that part. But if you want to come out and listen to some interviews, Emily, if you're trying to write a book, you could have all day listening to me on the videos. Speaking of Emily, Mike, I have some gifts for us that I need to get over to you.
Oh, all right.
But we have some story behind.
Are these the shirts?
Here we go. Yeah, we've got some story behind shirts. Boom. Look at the. Can you see the logo?
Those are sweet shirts.
Is that a good? Can you see the logo there?
Yep, you can.
And then so red for me. And,
perfect.
And of course blue.
Of course, my blue. I went back to my blue because I like
it.
That's awesome.
I like it. So we'll get this over to you.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Emily, thank you for sending these T-shirts. By the way, if you're listening to this and you want you want to send anything, I mean, look at me. I'm wearing a stupid Star Wars shirt. You could send us shirts. Just let us know. Jim at theaverageguy.tv. We'd wear those. Mike and I will coordinate these and get them on.
Emily, I'm gonna wear that a lot of the mornings at the gym too. That way I could spread the news. People see it and
super cool.
Hopefully you can get some more fans of the podcast.
Yeah, and it's it's one of those podcasts that you can just talk about. Like, I'm such a history and trivia nerd on some of those kinds of things. So if you're listening to this and you haven't listened to the story behind, just go to wherever you're listening to me and search for the story behind, and make sure there might be a few named that. So make sure it's Emily Prokop that you're listening to. And Emily has been a big, faithful, gigantic listener for a while now out in the chat room. Mark's been on the show, her husband. And Emily, we appreciate it. So thanks for sending the shirts. We'll get those wearing. I didn't want to wear mine tonight and not have Mike have his. They just came in the mail today.
Perfect.
So Emily, thank you very much. Speaking of the mail, 2 weeks ago or a week ago, we talked about the RMA process for the Seagate hard drives. And guess what came in today? Dude, I thought I'd just get a white label, white box.
A brand new one.
Brand new. This is like what you just buy. So
then now you ship the old one in this box, or how does it work?
Yeah, they have a label. I guess I can ship it in any box, right?
Yeah, it's true. Might as well keep that box.
Yeah. I've got the old box. So I'm going to pack it up in the old box, just throw it in there, tape it up, put the label on it and drop it in there. Remember, it was $12 for the service. It was expedited to me.
Right.
And then return shipping is all taken care of, which would cost $10 probably anyways to ship that thing back to them. So for $2 to have them send it to me, print the label, get all that stuff taken care of, get a box. All the packing material is all here. I can just throw it in the box and send it back. Pretty great. I know there's a lot of people who don't have a high regard for Seagate. I'm not saying this gets them out of the doghouse, but
okay. Them to replace it, no questions asked.
No, not bad. So if you've been buying those SMR drives, the warranty just comes off the serial number. And That's it. And so you can log into their site at any time and see what kind of warranty you have with them. They come with a standard 1 year. And I think I've got 6 months left on the warranty on that one that I'm sending back to them. So pretty great. We'll get this. I'll get this cranking on plotting for Burst, and we'll get it done unless people decide they still want to buy it. I had said last week I may not sell the rest of my drives. I may or may not. If you're still interested, this may be last call tonight. If you're interested, I've got a couple 8 terabyte drives left. If you're interested in buying them, they're $100 each plus shipping, so it works out to about $110 per. Send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv, and we'll figure it out.
And I've been on a eBay selling spree. Talk about making shipping easy. eBay, if you have not sold anything on eBay lately, it is just drop dead simple. You list it, you scan a barcode, even put it up there, and then they say, hey, someone bought it, ship it. You print the label. It uses PayPal for everything. You don't need to do anything. It's super easy. But yeah, I've been just going through a bunch of old tech, selling it, and really surprised about, what I'm getting for some of the stuff that I would have thought, I'm thinking $10 and it goes for 40 or 45. And it's been a nice little, this thing, just clearing out some of the old stuff. It's kind
of nice, isn't it? Yeah. I've been trying to do the same, just get rid of stuff. It's that time. I came down to the desk the other day and it was actually completely clean. And I was like, wow, hey, this is kind of a good feeling. So pretty nice.
The same thing. When I got the iMac back working, I cleared off the desk. The workbench is finally all cleared again. So I got one of those new mouse pads that's literally, it's right in front of me, like this big.
Did you order it from Amazon or where'd you get it?
The Steel series, and it's like the Extreme Gamer. So it goes, and because I like having the mouse pad, just a nice thing to lay stuff on. So your phone, it's not going to scratch. So I literally have a placemat that is, it's probably 40 inches wide.
Wow.
I mean, it's massive.
How much was it?
$28, so not too bad. And it's
is that some kind of design on it, or is it?
No, it's just straight black, which is what I wanted. Yeah. So Steel Series is the brand, and that's what I had before. This was actually my smaller one. So if this is the small one,
wow, it's bigger than that, huh? Okay.
It's like double the size wide as this. And so this now is kind of when I'm working on a hard drive or I'm doing electronics, I can set it on my workbench.
Yeah. No, it's nice to have that surface. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it works well.
I have to get that for this desk. That would make
kind of like a what do you call those, coaster for your drink too, because you just
yeah, things don't slide around. If you
that's what I like about it as well.
If you drop a screw, sometimes you drop a screw on the desk and it bounces and then it flies somewhere and you can't find it, and that kind of at least slows that down a little bit. No, pretty cool. We'll have to get that checked out. One more quick reminder: Patch Tuesday is coming up this Tuesday, which just happens to be 9/11, which is a big deal here in the United States. We don't really do much with it now, but of course, a big significant event on that. So don't forget, if you're running Burst or doing anything that's going to reboot your PCs, chances are next week sometime they're going to reboot. So Mike, I'm going to be preventative about it. I will probably on Tuesday night come home and just reboot everything. Just go through, make sure everything's updated and everything's rebooted and everything's where it should be at. We do know probably the next Patch Tuesday, so October, which, by the way, Rich Hay is coming on early October to talk to us about it, is the next major release of Windows. So 1809, I think, or 18. I think they're going to call it 1809 or maybe 1810. It will be called the fall update. No, this is so confusing. Microsoft's giving us so many. It'll be the October 2018 update. Pretty original, I think. But that's coming. So you got a big if you're keeping up with your updates on Windows, you've got a big update coming, not this month, but probably next. We don't know for sure. Just keep an eye on it. Those can be a little disruptive if you don't have them delayed or those kinds of things. You can get those taken care of. So just a reminder. Mike, you spent some time. You mentioned your iMac.
Yeah.
You spent some time. I mean, that thing was dead, right?
It was fully dead. Yeah. Like dead as a doornail.
Yeah.
I had taken it. So about a year and a half ago, it would just randomly die. And I kind of explained this, and you'd be doing something and it would just turn off. And then not even turn it. You couldn't even just use the switch to turn it back on. You had to reset the PRAM. on the Mac to get it to even turn back on. It was extremely weird. And, a lot of the, so I posted this out on the Facebook group. That's how it came up. And I think I got the fix for it. And I had people guessing, and they were guessing a lot of things that I had guessed originally too, right? Thermal problems, RAM, so I redid the whole OS. That didn't help anything. And, you couldn't recreate the problem. And when you did a diagnostics test on it, when I did it and when the Apple Store did it, everything showed up fine. Because what Apple did was Apple ran the diagnostic. They said, well, everything's coming back fine. And they said, well, everything is, and they're like, well, and so this is weird. We'll replace this for you because there's no reason it should be doing this. And then they're like, well, wait, the hard drive isn't an Apple hard drive. Did you get in there and replace it? And I said, yeah. And as soon as I said that, they're like, well, since you cracked the iMac, you'd have to pay a bunch, and it was going to be almost the cost of the computer to replace it. So I said, okay, well, I'll just take it home and deal with it or buy a new computer. I'm not going to replace this one. And turns out, long story short, what I think fixed it, and someone had a good comment. They said the last time it took you a year from the time it ran fine for a year with the new SSD, and then you had the problems a year later. So don't you have to wait this time another year? I said, okay, valid. But there's a reason I think I might have fixed it. But long story short, Macs, and especially on the operating system back when I was having the problem, do not play nicely with third-party SSDs out of the box. It's not just like Windows where you slap a SSD in there and you're good to go, only because they do not enable trim by default. And the garbage management system in a Mac and the garbage management system on an SSD, especially some of the, what kind do I have? I have a Samsung Evo drive. Those two did not play nicely together. So after a while, the trash management gets confused and it thinks it doesn't have enough space, but the hard drive reports that it does, and there's a collision, and that's when your computer would crash. So I don't know why I never thought of that. I don't know why I never did. So all I did, and keep in mind, in the past, I had wiped and redone the hard drive and redone the OS, but that didn't fix the issue. It would still be persistent. This time, booted off, I installed the OS on an external drive, booted to that drive so I could wipe the internal one fully, but I enabled trim first. So I enabled trim, wiped it, then reinstalled the OS, and it has been glorious ever since. So enabling trim on the Mac it seems like such a simple fix, but it's something you don't think about if I had installed SSDs in Windows machines for, and it's just easy. You replace the drive, you put an SSD, and you're good to go. So something I had not thought of, and I think that we have a fix that is going to work. But like he said, we'll see in a year if we have the same problem again.
What are you going to use it for?
So it's now mainly with the podcasting machine, because it's still got it. It's an i5. It's got an SSD in it. It's 2000. This one was from 2013.
Oh,
2014.
Still fairly new.
So it's still fairly new.
Yeah.
And so if I need to do high end, like my 4K drone footage will probably still be done on my laptop because my laptop's a beefier computer. But this one has 16 gigs of RAM. It's the i5. It's not bad. So this will be a podcasting machine and any light video editing tutorials. When I do my screencast tutorials, this will be more than enough. It's snappy. So this is my main computer now downstairs, which is nice because I don't have to come and dock my laptop and plug in all my cords and get it all set up every time. It's just here and it's set up and ready to go. So yeah, I was happy to do that. And apparently trim was the issue this whole time.
Yeah, that is weird. And I remember trim. There was an issue with Windows and trim.
Was there?
And and I'm trying to remember. It's been a while, but there was, maybe it was Windows 7 or something like that. I don't know. The chat room will remind me. But I seem to remember we had some trim issues with SSDs a while ago. I mean, it was 3, 4, 5 years ago, maybe.
And that's when this was. So maybe it was around the same time.
Yeah, maybe it was. Well,
actually, it wasn't that long ago. It was only
3 years,
a year and a half ago that I lost. The computer went down.
Yeah.
Because I replaced it because it came with a spinner.
Right.
And I replaced it with an SSD. So it was about 2 years ago.
Well, good to get it back. You got a
$2,000 not knowing mistake, right? Because I ended up and went out and bought a new laptop, which is great because I needed it anyway. The laptop handles the 4K footage a lot better than this one ever did. So,
I mean, it's not like you recorded a whole day of podcasts and didn't have the right audio setting or anything. Could have been that bad.
I didn't do that today.
Could have been that bad where you had a Microsoft employee and a whole bunch of session leaders and keynotes and some really good interviews. And then you set the wrong audio setting. You could, and because you're, anyways, okay, I'll stop. Well, good. No, and you got a dedicated rig down there. I know we've had some problems a while back getting that working, right? We had some audio
Well,
problems with you.
yeah, because I'm not running the beta on this
Right.
iMac.
Right.
Yeah, I'm running the beta on the laptop, and they Chrome and the new beta have not played nicely together.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's good. Now it's good and it's stable and it should work for you. And you've got that thing back up and running and,
Yeah.
and very cool. Okay. So I alluded to this earlier, but my friend, you go all in. And so NextCloud was your next project after UnRaid. Tell me what made you go or what made you think, because I would have gone to OwnCloud right away, but obviously you always do some research and checked it out. So talk a little bit about the process of what and why, and why'd you do that? Why'd you go to NextCloud?
So there is a YouTube, the link I post in the Facebook group goes to a YouTube tutorial on installing NextCloud and UnRaid that is done by a guy who goes by Space Invader on YouTube. And he has, I can't even count how many UnRaid tutorials on his channel. So he was actually a resource I had used when I was getting UnRaid up and running. So I ended up just kind of scrolling through his videos and kind of seeing what he suggests. Oh, because he just does such high quality content that I was like, okay, I'm betting he has some good suggestions. So he had one on NextCloud, and honestly, Jim, I hadn't heard of NextCloud or OwnCloud. So I Googled it. I was like, okay, it sounds pretty cool, but I kind of want to do a little bit of research on it, and found out it was a lot of the original devs and creators of OwnCloud that's forked, went off and started NextCloud. They're actually extremely similar, but NextCloud is kind of considered the new and upgraded version of OwnCloud. So kind of interesting, but I saw it and I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. It's at least worth, the great thing about UnRaid is you can fire up a Docker, get something going. Yeah, you don't like it, blow it away. And it doesn't affect anything. And it takes 10 seconds. There's a community applications plugin on UnRaid that pretty much gives you an app store. UnRaid doesn't come with an app store, but it's essentially, think of an app store where you can look up any apps and easily install them. So yeah, I went in and I got it. And for those of you like me who do not know what either of these are, it is your own personal Dropbox. If you think of all the functionality that Dropbox has, it is the exact same thing. I think a little actually more feature rich, but all of the data is stored on your device, whatever it is. You can install NextCloud on a lot of different devices. I installed it on UnRaid. So you get, there's applications for the iOS, for Android, for your Mac, for your Windows. Essentially, it is just like installing Dropbox. You have a folder that everything goes into and that syncs it, and your cloud is going to sync everything across all of your devices. So it's exactly like Dropbox, except for it's your own data. There's a few things I really like about that. And number one is where the data is stored. And number two is if you're, for me, especially for Upshot, I was looking for a place to easily share the finished videos with the client. And with Google Drive and all that stuff, those work great. But if you're dealing with 4K footage and a lot of footage, that upload and download, the bandwidth wise, it takes forever for those to sync. Well, the thing I've loved about UnRaid, by the way, that I didn't mention earlier, is that I saturate the entire gigabit network when I transfer files. So it is extremely fast. And none of the pre-built NASs that I've bought, the QNAP or anything like that, have been able to do that. So it's a full gigabit speed. So when I'm transferring these files over, it's extremely fast. It's a cloud service, but you're getting full gigabit speeds up and down, which has been extremely nice. And got it up and running. It does take a little bit of configuring. So if you're looking for something easy, it's easy-ish. If you want, though, to use your own domain and use a reverse proxy, it's just a few more steps, and it can get a little bit confusing, but it's not too bad. So reverse proxy, meaning I have my own domain, and you can just do like nextcloud.server.com, like whatever your domain is, and it's HTTPS with a reverse proxy on UnRaid, and you go there from from outside your home even, and it connects. So that's how it works, and it works really, really well. So I have been enjoying that for about the last few days, testing it out, seeing the limitations. And Mike Howard, actually, a few people in our group actually use it. In the chat tonight, Peter and Mike both use it. And so Mike says that what he likes about it is you can create a public folder that people can upload files to, and you can have the settings be anything you want. So you could have this folder be, Jim, you can go out and you can upload your stuff to my folder, but you can't see anything in it. I could have you upload and be able to see. I can have you upload, see, and download. you really can restrict what you want these people to have access to. And Mike had a perfect use case for it. He actually uses it for his photo contest for his podcast. So he shares the link because it's just one shareable link, and people can upload their photos, but they can't do anything else. They can't even see the other photos that are in the folder, and they're on your cloud. So a lot of those features that Dropbox has, NextCloud also has them. And actually, I think they're a little bit easier to use and more customizable, especially with the different sharing options that you have. And Mike also says he uses his own domain, and so do I. Yeah, I used my own domain that I had, which is great. So you can map it to your own. And then with UnRaid, there's a very, very simple, it's called Duck DNS. One of those simple where it goes out and it updates a domain with your current IP address all the time. So if your router reboots and you get a new IP address, that link is always going to work. So it's really nice. And as Mike points out, it's also free. That was the best part about it.
What's the financial incentive for these developers?
I think there is a fee if you use it. Well, first of all, it's open source. So it's an open source program. And I think there is a fee if you want to use one of their servers. Mike and Peter can correct me if that's wrong, but there is some sort of fee structure if you don't have your own cloud, but you want to essentially rent a server. I don't know how they make money, but it works pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Well, it's not like they're in this case. It would just be software updates that you'd be worried about if those guys ditch this. Screw it, we're out of here. I don't think they're gonna, but you got to think about those things sometimes.
Right.
Like, okay, is this thing going to get supported? If I'm going to use it as a business thing, if I'm going to have people. Peter says they sell support for it, so that's probably the right.
And Mike also says there might be a fee for enterprise users.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go buy jimstorage.online, and then I'm gonna create my own Jimmy Drive.
There you go.
My coward will understand that reference. Do you know Jimmy Drive?
No.
Are you familiar with that? It goes way back, way back. There was a guy back in the day. If you go back to, I'd have to in the episodes in the early, maybe 80s or 90s or something, I think we talked about this guy just started his own online storage and he called it Jimmy Drive. And it didn't work out well for him in the end. I think he just ditched it. I don't know. It was a really weird situation, but if you go back to some of our early shows, you'll hear Jimmy Drive. But jimstorage.online is available $4.99. I can get that domain for $4.99. So,
or just do it as a subdomain, because when you do Let's Encrypt and you do you just do it as a subdomain to your regular domain. So that's usually the way they do it. So I took my WRD Labs domain and I just did a subdomain of that, and it works really well. There's one other thing. So the other thing I really like about it is adding users is so simple. So I had my account. I'm like, wait, I could set Hannah up with an account. You go to users, click Hannah, and now she has her own separate from mine storage, and it just works. And you can set quotas. So you could say, okay, she only gets 500 gigs to upload, or you can set her to upload unlimited, has many users as you want. I've actually thought, you could do cloud for your friends if you really wanted to. You could just add a user and they don't have to be on your network to use it. And you could set up some cloud storage for friends and family.
Yeah, it's a great way to do it. Cool. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think your use case for business, for your drone stuff, where you could, if you're taking files from people or you're sending files to them, this is, I think, a great way and a great solution to have it done.
Or even if you have more than a free account allows for some of the other Dropbox, Google Drive, if you have quite a bit of data that you want to use in a cloud service like that, then you're only limited by the storage you have, which is great. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to pay for my terabyte of Dropbox anymore, because now I have 6 terabytes for free on my own cloud.
What were you paying for that? Do you remember? What's a terabyte cost these days on Dropbox?
$10 a month, maybe.
Okay, that's pretty reasonable. I know MediaFire will do that for same thing, $10 a month, and I think they have a deal. The first year is half price, so $5 a month, or I think it's $60 a year. I want to say 50 on the discounted price or something like that. Pretty reasonable. If you want to go with the MediaFire, that I've got plenty. I use that for our video RSS feed. Drobo has that kind of feature too. If you can go out to myusername.mydrobo.com, and it's a very similar very similar functionality. This was actually something they got working after the old team left. So
really?
yeah. Then the guys, the old boss, same as the new boss. Anyways, the guys who bought it back, and now they've merged. They merged with another company, so they're doing some other stuff. It's kind of crazy. We won't talk about that here, but yeah, they bought the company back or took it back over or whatever, and then implemented a whole bunch of these changes at Drobo and made it really actually work, which was kind of cool. So you can same type deal. Mike, I don't find myself moving files to my own personal. Like I've thought about OwnCloud, and you got me thinking about NextCloud. And I've got this functionality with Drobo, and I kind of just don't. For me, I'm just not moving files that way. That's just not something I found helpful.
Okay.
So, but it's different. Like everybody's different, right?
Right. I just have, I go back and forth between so many devices that Dropbox really was one of those apps that I use on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And if I can get rid of that fee, why not?
Right
now,
on.
yes, I am putting
Right
my
on.
stuff at more risk because, like we talked about last week, and I'm still this way. Now that I'm storing all my stuff here, I've been kind of rethinking my answer to this, but I don't have offsite backup for the UnRaid box yet. So, meaning that if something goes wrong, I now have lost access to all those documents as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you better get that squared away.
They would still be on all of my devices locally, hopefully, the ones that are like my iMac and my MacBook. But I could lose those.
Other gyms asking, what sort of security features are there? Can you use SFTP, two-factor authentication, those kinds of things?
So SFTP, you can use that with UnRaid. And you could do that to a share on UnRaid. That wouldn't really be a use case for NextCloud. You would probably just use SFTP and store your stuff in shares. Because I don't keep everything in NextCloud. All of my large media files, all of my raw drone footage, all of that is just on a share on UnRaid, just a normal share, an SMB that I can access through SMB and stuff like that, or on a map drive. NextCloud, think of it it's more meant for documents, smaller files, photos. I'm probably pushing the limits, and I can tell I am because actually out of the box, the max file size that it can sync, I think, is a gig. So think of it more for that. But yeah, so two-factor though is interesting. I have not checked into that. It might be available, but it probably is not, I'm guessing, for NextCloud. Okay. Maybe.
Does it have any phone apps? Can you?
Yes.
You can sync your photos and those kinds of things.
It does. Works well.
Okay. Cool. Well, I think it's an option. And Christian, back in the day, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, Christian was a big OwnCloud user when he went off to college. So this would have been 5 years ago. And I hadn't really even considered it just because I don't have a need for it. Right. And I'm a little spoiled. I've got a MediaFire account that's basically the same thing. I'm sponsored by them, so they foot the bill for it, and it's not terribly expensive anyways. So I haven't, if I need space, I always throw it. And I've got, even though we host the video RSS feeds over there for the podcast, I'm not using, but I think I'm probably up to 300 gig of video files over there. Maybe I have to check. I should probably check every once in a while to see how close I am getting to that 1 terabyte limit. So I've been using MediaFire for that, and that's a good little. I
forgotten. I still have a subscription to MediaFire. I honestly haven't logged in because I only used it for hosting my podcast stuff, and I've never actually used it for stuff like that.
It's something to think about. Good little service, bandwidth caps, but you almost never hit them.
And other Jim was just talking about how it would be a good use for family photos and scans of genealogy docs. And that's the one thing too that I like about this is because so you can set up one of those public folders, right? So I'm thinking of when my grandpa just passed away and we were trying to gather photos from everyone. Man, if I had just created one of these, what I like about it too is it goes to the server, and then I don't have to have that. I mean, you could do this with Dropbox too, but it's not as easy to do. You can only sync certain folders to your Mac. So like I don't sync some of the folders that have massive amounts of data in them. So you could set it up, don't have it synced to your computer, and then all those files are then just stored on your server and you can bring them over. They're local. It'd be fast. I like it.
Mike, it's time for you to do Backblaze B2, by the way, and just back up UnRaid to Backblaze.
I think it is too. I think it's about time that I just do it. It's just going to be really expensive with all the stuff I do.
That's true.
But I think you're right. I think it's probably about time.
It's probably time.
Do they do, is it kind of like the other, because when I had Backblaze, just the regular consumer $60 a year version, one of the options was if everything crashed, they would ship you a USB drive
I don't know.
with your data on it. Because that's what, I mean, that was really a selling feature, because the data to bring all that stuff back down would take forever. It's already going to take forever to get it uploaded.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if they do that same service, because they would ship you a drive with all your stuff on it. That would be nice.
I don't know. Have to look into it. It's worth it's Backblaze is worth looking into. I have a 1.5 terabyte out there. It's about $8 a month. You know, if you're not moving data around, you're not paying for it, right? It's I mean, you are, you're paying for what you store out there, but it is worth taking a look. Mike says I have nearly 10 terabytes with B2. It's running about $12 a month last time you checked.
Really?
So,
Okay, that's not bad. That's great. Actually.
Yeah, that's actually real. I wonder how you're getting 12, Mike. But
that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's you know, it's it depends how much you move up there and how much you pull down. Those, it's worth looking into,
right,
for sure. Yeah, good. Well, anything else you'd add in there on that? Anything, any learning or any other stuff you add on that?
Just that, have patience with the reverse proxy, because it might not work the first time you do it. Takes a little bit, and it'll take some, if you have not set up one of those before, it takes some, you have to just really focus and think about what you're setting up, right? Like, okay, what am I trying to do here? And it's confusing, right? Because you're thinking about networking, but it's called a reverse proxy for a reason, because everything's reversed, and it's really weird to kind of think in that manner. So just have patience with it if you're trying to get it up and running in your own home. And also, the one thing I did notice that some people have been running into is, if you don't have a router that allows, what's it called?
UPnP?
Nope, NAT. Essentially,
NAT traversal?
Yes. So if you try and access your own public IP from inside your network, a lot of routers block that, because they think apparently it's a hacking technique. So pfSense does allow you to turn that on. And that is one of the ways that it's a lot easier to set up, because you don't have any issues trying to access a public IP address with NextCloud, even if you're on the inside of your network. So that might be an issue too.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll follow you on this. You'll do it for a month or two and then moving on to something else.
Probably.
Just joking with you. But it could be true. Mike says for individual PC, we're talking about Backblaze, $50 a year, unlimited. It's a nice way to go. Backblaze has been no drama, and it's just been a place to upload stuff. It works really well with the Moro data box. It's just been, I don't think about that part of my backup anymore. It's all there. What I use the most often is here. It's a terabyte worth. Like, it's super great. I don't, I've turned the old home server box into a burst box. Drobo stores some stuff locally for me. It's kind of the local big storage thing for stuff I don't need backed up. Like, I'm not backing up. So things I download from the internet for like installs and ISOs and some of those kinds of things I just wouldn't send to the cloud and pay for up there. That has been, the Drobo has been really good for that. And, I got plenty of space on the Drobo, and I got plenty of drives hanging around here if I ever needed them. I don't need all that space, but pretty cool. October, I think National Backup Month is in October, so we're not there yet, but I'm going to make September National UPS Month, and not the guys who bring your packages, although that's super exciting. Thanks, UPS, for bringing this today. I always appreciate that. No, UPS, that power supply, the backup power supply, the battery, that when you lose power and you have a lightning strike and you lose power and everything goes down except your PC. Those are getting, all of a sudden, I've seen a run on sales on those things. And I have a feeling they're getting ready to rev those products. So if you've been following, there's very few left. CyberPower, APC. Yeah. I don't know if there's any more than that. I was at Best Buy this weekend. I'll tell you why in a little bit, but I was at Best Buy this weekend, and they had some on sale. They were clearancing some out of there, and Kevin in the chat in the Facebook group had posted an APC backup. They're a pretty good one, a BN 1080G, which for most people will do the job. 650 watts, and that'll do a PC or maybe even 2, depending on what kind of PC user you are. I've actually, Mike, gotten in the habit. I buy the small ones, the 300 or 250 or 300 watt ones, the little small ones. Those are like the network. I have those sitting next to all my network gear.
Right.
And all the network gear goes into a surge protector, and the surge protector goes into because I don't have enough plugs and they're not convenient and not spaced out in the right ways. So all the networking equipment have their own UPS. Actually, the PCs on the back of the desk have their own. I think I have a 450 that's there. They're all on their own thing. And then I actually have 2 big ones up front here. One's running the box, the main rig, and then I think I have the burst box and the Core i3. That's kind of my plotter and some other things that I do. It's broadcasting the podcast right now. Those are on a separate one. And so if you're, I have 4. And then I have 5 out, and because my wife's on one.
It works well that way, though. You have kind of them separated out. You can move them around if you need to, different locations.
Kevin says the one he posted has the simulated sine wave. Some PFC power supplies need a pure sine wave UPS. So this is even better. Yeah, we talked about this a couple years ago when it was super important. Not all UPSs are built the same. Link will be in the show notes. Kevin, let me grab this right now for folks who are in chat. This is out at B&H, but I got a feeling after he posted that he was like, this may be one of those things, if you've got a struggling one or if you had one for 4 or 5 years, if you're not in the habit of testing them on a fairly regular basis, those batteries eventually, they just charge themselves to death.
Right.
Literally. And they won't even, the only reason it's working is because it's plugged in. And the second you unplug that thing, it goes. Most of the good ones have a self-check. So if you're anything you've paid, $75 to $150, you probably has a self-check in there where you can go in there and check it. It'll check itself to say, hey, this is good or it's not. Some of them come with software. The software's never very good, but at least it will tell you. It'll run a self-check on it. You might want to check that when you're checking the batteries for your smoke detectors. You might want to check your UPS backups. Good to have, especially here in the Midwest, Mike, because we don't lack for lightning.
I agree.
Yeah.
And just general power outages for other stuff.
Yeah, and just little drops. They just comes in, saves you the trouble. And I've even had that happen during podcast, and it's kind of nice to have a backup to make sure. I've got a big backup at Gallup that backs up the 3 PCs there to make sure that those are staying on. I don't want to lose power. I was there in the middle of the night one time. We lost power, and I lost everything. And I was like, not everything, like data, but I lost the podcast. So get that. If you're thinking about doing it, now might be the time. Mike, you want to add anything else to that?
Well, I'm kind of lucky the way I have my stuff set up, because I have my whole rack is on a 1500 APC. Mm-hmm. But the way I have it is that this rack, I have that new PoE switch, which powers the access point that runs all the way to the attic and back down. So even the access point that's plugged into the ceiling on the main level is attached to that backup, because it runs and it's powered off the rack. So my entire network is backed up now, even my access point, because the access point was the problem before. It wasn't. I just had an access point plugged in upstairs, but I didn't have any sort of backup to it.
Kevin also threw a link to an Amazon. I'll change this link over to an affiliate link here a little bit later, but there's a little $25 APC backups as well, which they kind of position as a backup, as a network backup, and it's got a USB charging port in it. So this may be one if you've got if your wireless router is sitting on your desk, or you've got some things that are coming to your desk. This would be one of those. Pretty easy, pretty light. It would back some stuff up. Got a little battery power. $23 on Amazon right now. So no reason not to have something like that. It could just be a charger that sits on, to be honest. It could be what sits on your desk and Alexa is plugged into, plus you charge your phone on it.
Right.
Type deal. So pretty cool. You should be thinking about that. Christmas time is coming up. Oh, buy yourself one for Halloween. Why not? Let's just make Halloween backup, the backup holiday. Just when things go wrong, you have backup. I got kind of crazy this week. This is the part of the show where we're going to talk a little bit about Mike Howard. So I got a little crazy this week, and actually last week I started wearing my Fitbit again, and I took it off. It's charging right now. The show's a good time to have it charging because I'm just sitting here. But so I started wearing it, and then I remembered, hey, I friended Mike Howard a while ago, and so I said something like, hey, watch out, I got my eyes. And then I was listening to JPEG to Raw last week, and he and Tim were talking about they track each other on Fitbit and steps, and I started looking at their number of steps. I'm like, oh, I can crush that. Like, I can so crush that. So so I immediately went on, like, and I tell you what, I mean, this is when technology works the way it's supposed to, right? It connected us together. It gave me a challenge. I'm crazy. Like, I am crazy about, like, how you are crazy about making you once you get on a technology thing,
Right.
when I get on a fitness thing, I just go freaking nuts, right? I just lose my mind. So during the week, it was making sure I was getting to the fitness center so that I could get on the treadmill and get my steps in. I was tracking it all the time. I was seeing, where's Mike at? Where's Tim at? Where am I at? Trying to catch up. Then this holiday weekend, I absolutely, like, we didn't have much to do. It was raining all weekend. My daughter was here. Nobody really wanted to do anything. So twice a day I went out for walks, and long walks, like 3-mile walks.
Oh, wow.
And Mike, I got almost 110,000 steps in in a week. Like, yeah, I mean, it's amazing what you can do when you like, you're incentive.
You really went all in on it.
Well, and it looks like I was going to catch Mike at one point, and then so I felt really good about myself, like, oh, I caught him. And then he must have jumped on a treadmill or something, because then he went ahead of me. And it was like 9:00 at night, and I think I want to say it was Saturday night. So it was like 9:00. I was feeling good about myself. I click on the website, which is incredibly addicting, right? Because it's like you're comparing yourself to other people.
Right.
And boom, he's ahead. I literally grab my keys. Like, okay, I don't have a treadmill here at the house. So I'm like, I'm going to Walmart. Sarah's like, you're doing what? I need a place to walk. I'm going to Walmart. And it was raining outside. So I'm like, I need a covered place. I need a place so it's big. I need a place I can go. So get in Walmart, just start doing laps. Just start walking
in Walmart,
in the store. In the store.
Jim's got the headband on. He's sweating, just power walking it.
Kind of did break a sweat. Yeah. Mike Howard said he had a competition over the weekend with a work friend, and so he was competing, and then he didn't know, but I was competing with him, and so I got home about 10:30. And this was my thought. Okay, Mike's in the Eastern time zone, so he just has a half an hour. There's no way he's getting on the treadmill at 11:30 at night to beat me. But I kept checking. I kept refreshing.
That you were addicted to making sure that didn't happen.
Oh, it's exactly what you want, right? When you think about these kinds of these kinds of activities, we should start one for the average guy.
We should.
Yeah.
Apple or Fitbit, because I mean, it's even more addicting on the watch, because I click one button and it shows all my friends, like, live where they're at. So I can just tap it, scroll. I can see my dad, all my buddies, and we're all pretty competitive. You can send them a message right on here. Just click and say, like, I'm coming for you, whatever. And it's a lot of fun. Yeah,
it's perfect. It's the perfect kind of technology for that. And Mike says in the chat, "Oh, I'd get on the treadmill at 11:30." That's what he said. So it really got me kind of moving. In fact, today it was the least amount of steps. I did almost like 9,600, 9,700, something like that. And I felt bad because it was at a conference all day. I walked around when I could. I got to the conference. I knew I needed to come home and make dinner.
Yeah.
Sarah was going to work late, so I was on the hook for dinner tonight. And I just didn't get the steps in. Well, 9,600 steps, still pretty good for a day. Like,
yeah.
12 is my goal. And I'm like, oh, I can't let Howard catch up. Like, I can't let him catch me. So, like, right now, because he was talking about on his show.
Challenging you right now.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh boy. So right now, he's close. So I have 103,859. And I think this must be a 7-day running total or something like that. And I think every day it
just resets,
drops the last day off and then adds to it. I'm at 103,859 right now. I've been as high as 110. So my average is keep coming back a little bit. I had a 20,000 step day, though. Like, yeah.
It was the day you were doing all the walks?
I think so. I did it twice. It gave me credit for working out twice that day. And then he's at 99.489. Which, okay, so here's what's going to happen. Like, after the show, he, he's going to try and catch me right now, but I may have to make another trip to Walmart tonight. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I know Walmart pretty well. I know Walmart pretty well, and the people are always interesting as well. So it would be Mike says it's a 7-day run in total. Monday was a 22,000 day for him. So
it's not bad out tonight. You could probably go for a run outside.
Yeah, and I'd just walk it. I won't run, but because I'd never go to sleep if I tried to run it.
Gotcha.
But but Mike, that is such the right use of technology.
Completely.
And,
totally agree.
If you're interested in connecting, if you got a Fitbit and you want to connect with us, I'm kind of interested in putting together our own group here to get folks to join. Send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. We'll get it figured out. Mike said 3K ahead is too much to overcome at this point, so he can't have me today. Well, I have to be careful because tomorrow will be another one of those days where it's going to be a low step day, and but weekend is coming. Saturday morning, no Ask the Podcast Coach.
Oh,
and I'm meeting a buddy for a 3-mile walk in the morning, and I might just do 2 laps at that point, get 6 in, and then Sunday's Corporate Cup here in town. So that'll be.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of walking. Yeah. There'll be a lot of walking on that one. So Howard, I'm coming for you. Actually, I came for him. It's already done. I already beat him. But the great thing about this, like, it's never over. Like, what have you done for me lately? Like, all of a sudden now I want to keep my number 1 status. I'm thinking about working out all the time, which is great. So if, like I said, if you want to join us on that, get that, let me know, jim@theaverageguy.tv. It's been kind of fun to use that Fitbit. And Mike, this Alta that I got, this Fitbit Alta, the small one, it's a couple years old. Still works great. And it didn't cost me. I got it through a work gift thing, where work gave it to me for some points that I acquired or something like that.
Okay.
But I've seen it like right now is at Target, and they're clearancing them. So like the 104 for the Charge HR, which is pretty good. So
the Charge HR, I think, gives you Bluetooth notifications from your phone.
I think it does. I think it does.
And stuff like
and
that.
And the heart rate stuff.
Right.
So it may be if you're out shopping because I'm starting to look for places to go and walk. So I walked at Walmart. I walked at Target. I went to Menards and and did a couple loops. Today I went to Cabela's because I was over on that part of town. You start thinking about like, okay, what kind of big places can I go? And then while you're there, I love to shop. So while I was there, you start checking out prices. So at Cabela's today, I saw generators. And I'm like, oh, I need to get it.
So the stores do really well too with all this tech.
I spent $1 million.
Yeah,
I could have just bought a gym membership for like 10 years for all the money I spent at. Or I've been addicted to Munch. Do you know it's like peanut brittle, but it's really soft peanut brittle. It's super good. It's like crack, right? It's called Munch. It's available in the checkout line at Walmart. I just can't stop thinking about it. So I do all this walking and then I eat a whole bag of Munch. And you're like,
I just negated it, but it's okay.
That didn't work out very well. There's if you do get into this Fitbit, and I recommend it, tracking sleep, daily tracking, some of those pieces. Other Jim says the Charge 3 was announced. Yeah, that's why they're clearancing them out. So now would be a good time to get, if you don't want to spend a lot, now would be a good time to jump into Fitbit if you want to get it done that way. Mike, a little secret, and this needs to stay. I'm going to invoke the cone of silence. I don't do this very often here on the podcast. Like can't have this getting out, but I got a little hack that I've come across. So you're an Xbox. Are you an Xbox 360 guy? Do you pay for the gold?
Xbox One.
Oh, so do you pay for Xbox Gold?
Yes.
Okay, I have a way to get it free.
Really?
I do. All right.
Okay.
So
I'll definitely keep this.
It takes just a smidge, cone of silence, because it may not. I don't want the guys at Microsoft hearing what I'm doing, because then they'll maybe put something in to stop it. But if you're on Windows 10 and you're in the most recent update, you've got Edge, and the Edge browser, Microsoft is doing all kinds of things to bring people to Edge, including giving them these reward points, which you can get anywhere from 150 to 250 to maybe as many as 300 points a day. And these points you can turn in for like $5 off at the store or $3 off of here. those are on the monthly challenges. If you store up those points, you can actually get them up to $10 and $15 and $20. But because that gold doesn't cost Microsoft anything, you can actually get enough points easily in a couple months to buy an Xbox, the gold pass for them
For a year?
for a whole year.
Really?
Yeah. So
Okay.
the points come in the form of searches, and both mobile and on the PC.
So is this like Bing rewards? Is that the
It
same
is.
thing?
So yeah, it's the
Okay.
same. It's all Microsoft points now. So it's
Okay.
all called Microsoft Rewards. So the bummer is you got to open up a web browser, type in a search, and you get 5 points per search. Right now I'm in a tier. Once you do that for a while, they'll kind of move you up some tiers and you can get more points that way. So the more you do it, they have streaks. So it's like Fitbit in a lot of ways. They have streaks. After a 3-day streak, you get some more points. After a 7-day streak, you get some more. They kind of incent you to be there. But the real bummer about it is, you can do like 50 or 60 searches a day to get these points, and the way to maximize it is that. But that's a drag. Like, you don't want to sit at your computer and find these random things to search on.
Right.
So a while back, I was doing some work, and there's an app called Macro Recorder. Okay. Sorry. Is it Macro? Hold on. It's Macro Recorder.
Okay.
And basically what it does is it just records your mouse movements. Okay, again, cone of silence here.
Right.
Cone of silence. Okay. I'm invoking the cone of silence. So it records your mouse movements. So you can record opening Edge, going to Bing. Then what I do is I actually have a page that goes to Charade's word generator. So it just generates different words all the time.
Okay.
Then highlight the word, then go over to Bing, put it in, hit enter. It does a search, 5 points, right? And then stop the macro and run that macro 50 times, right? And it just keeps doing, again, cone silence. Don't tell anybody.
It just grabs a different word from the thing and
it generates a different word, the macro. And so what I do, and then there's a couple things, there's some trivia and some other stuff that's worth 10 and 30 and 40 points, right? More points. And that I don't automate. That I actually go to and do the trivia. It's kind of fun. You go in there and you can kind of answer trivia questions. They'll do little surveys. They'll ask you questions every day. So what I've done in the evenings is I just come home and I start the macro. Like, so it's doing the searches. It's actually during the day, it's caused me to use Bing for my search on my phone because I get 10 points for every search on the phone as well.
Yeah.
Separate, up to 100 points a day.
Okay.
And then I get up 150 points on search to get that done on just the regular search. So that's running because that's super boring. So that just kind of runs through the thing. But I mean, if you have repetitive tasks or things that you're doing on the PC that require you to just kind of copy paste, and it's the same place in the same way. This macro recorder is super easy and super cool to use for those kinds of things. It will automate anything that is in the same place in the same way and the same thing. I mean, just think about some things that maybe you have a repetitive task that you got to do over and over and over again. This macro recorder will do it for you. It's super light, super easy to use. And then while it's running, I bring up Edge on my desktop here, and I answer all the
trivia stuff.
I saw the trivia, and that's kind of fun. It's kind of fun, I learned a few things.
Nighttime little activity. You got this one that goes over the
yeah. In about 3 months,
nice little hack. I didn't know that you could trade them in for
you can for annual. You can get, like, I think already I'm in a spot I could probably get 1 month for free.
Okay,
if I wanted to do it that way. But I think I'm going to save up for the year to buy it, and then I think I'm going to buy an Xbox.
Well, speaking of which, have you heard about the new offering from Xbox?
Oh yeah, the monthly where you can basically just pay it month by month, but it's a little bit cheaper.
It's an all access pass. This is extremely interesting, and I've actually I'm thinking about upgrading just because of this feature. But so all access pass, it is, you get the console. It's a 2-year agreement, right? So you're signing up for 2 years.
Yep.
You get the console. So for the Xbox One S, that's what I have, it is $21.99 a month. Or the Xbox One X, the super powerful new Xbox, is $34.99 a month. But it includes Xbox Live Gold for those 2 years. So you've got that. You've also got for 2 years Game Pass, which Game Pass is something that I pay for both of those separately. And I actually did the math. I'm like, I could just add $10 more a month and be getting a brand new, like, really nice Xbox out of this. But yes, you get Game Pass and Xbox Live Gold plus the console. And that's a lot easier to swallow when you're only paying $21 a month or $34 a month rather than saving up and spending. I don't even know how much the Xbox One X is right now. Should look that up.
500 maybe.
That's right, 5 or 6 maybe.
Somewhere in that. Somewhere I've gone on record as saying I need an Xbox, like I need a hole in my head, but I would like to have one. It is they're
nice, and they are a fantastic home media device.
Yeah
the remote, all the apps, everything works. You gotta it's 4K. They're nice, and you can also play games on it when you want. So a 1 terabyte Xbox One X is $500. So instead of saving up $500, you go $34 a month, and you've got your gold included in there. And Game Pass. So Game Pass is like a large library of titles. They're trying to bring newer titles to it. There's still some very good titles in there. You have a whole catalog of games to play day one, right? So you don't have to go out and spend a bunch of money on you might have to go buy certain games that you want to play, but it's not a bad option for people wanting to get an Xbox.
Yeah. Well, it's these, in this theme of like these addictive point generating, competitions. Other Jim, back to our conversation on walking. He says he ties his walks to a donation to Pull app for charity. Miles is worth looking at. He says they raised $48 for cancer research in a few months with my walks and bike rides. Yeah, I love that. Or if you're doing that kind of stuff, you can actually generate these points as well, and Microsoft will use them as donations to charity. Well, so you can turn these Microsoft points. I just thought it was fun. I was driving home and I'm like, I'm trying to remember why I looked for a macro. There was another, again, cone of silence. There's another system that I was gaming of like, hey, what was it? It was something that required this repetitive mouse movement. I can't remember what it was, but I heard the guys at Entertainment 2.0, Josh, say, that he had a buddy that always uses his Microsoft points to get an Xbox, a gold pass. And I thought, I wonder how and I'm like, hey, I got this app that would, so I did a little looking into it and, the searches, and maybe I can create a way to kind of automate the search bit and then just take on the surveys. So pretty cool. If you're into that, if you're on the Microsoft side, you can get some points that way. You can also get money off at the store, and you'll get money for any points you spend at the store. So maybe it might be worth looking at the Microsoft reward system that's going on right now. It's tied to your Microsoft account. So just go to any Microsoft's, actually just open Edge. This is the easiest way to do it. It'll be the only time you ever use Edge. Open it up, go to your account, log in, look at the rewards. Pretty cool. Mike, you and I have been talking about Plex a bunch, and I actually moved my Plex after the show last week. I moved my Plex server off of our Core i3 and onto the Core i7 burst box that I have. And holy cow.
How'd that work?
Great, actually. Yeah. Listen, burst doesn't need it. Plex doesn't need it. Doesn't need all that power. It can survive on a pretty meager box, but man, it rocks when it's there. And I moved the TVs over, moved all the TV shows over, went through and reset up all my recordings to make sure it was what I wanted. I went through my recordings one by one. Is it still working? How is it working? The commercial skip is working really well. Like, I've been so pleasantly surprised on the stations.
A lot better.
Yeah. And Dave McCabe just talked about it on the latest reset. So if you're headed over there, he has recently kind of come back to Plex as well. And is giving it a run. But man, putting on a pretty powerful box, super helpful.
That transcoding, especially if you need a transcode, it's massive.
Yeah. So no, a very good move for me on that one. I did crush a little burst drive. I had a 750 gig burst drive that I didn't need it, and that's not very much burst, right? So I ended up deleting it, moving it onto that box, excuse me, and using it for recorded TV storage. So, and then of course the movies are on the Drobo. So
are you using your tuners to go to Plex or to the media center?
No, the tuners are going to Plex and the media center. She's still using them. Yeah, we can use them. Yeah. But, Plex offered that $35 subscription to get like ESPN and History Channel. And HGTV, and did you know that?
No.
Yeah. So Plex just announced last week, 2 weeks ago, subscription, $35. You pay them, they stream those channels to your tuners. And it shows up in Plex like it's cable.
Really?
Yeah. $35 a month.
Okay.
I mean, you start thinking about this. Okay, 35 for Plex, 10 for Netflix, 10 basically for Prime, 10 for Hulu. All of a sudden, it's like maybe I should just have cable.
Well, but the thing is, you would still have all of those you would have those in addition to cable.
That's true. Well, Prime I would. I'm not sure I would pay if I had cable. I'd probably just buy the Silicon Dust cable card tuner thing. I mean, I don't even know I'd need it if I had cable. Why would I need it?
Well, yeah.
But
my thing is like the Netflix content, the Amazon Prime content.
True. No, that's
so
true.
Good.
That's true.
The first thing, if I had to get rid of one thing, it would be YouTube TV because there's no original content there.
That's 40.
40.
Yeah.
40.
Yeah.
Really
So you could have this. Do you get ESPN and those channels? Okay.
I don't get HGTV though.
You should check out this Plex thing, dude, because you may be able to replace your YouTube TV with this Plex offering and stream everything. It's just a better experience, I think, than what you can find on YouTube. I haven't seen the YouTube experience for what you're doing, so I don't know what that looks like. If it has a grid guide, can you record?
On YouTube Cloud, and you can watch it from any device because those recordings are in the cloud. So Plex cable offering, huh?
Check it out. It's actually Silicon Dust is doing it, so you can. It's coming from those guys, and you have to have HD home runs to get it done. But pretty cool. Ken, thanks for coming out. So that's it for the show, Mike. Anything else?
No.
All right.
That's it.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Like always, we filled it up.
We do. We're like, we don't have anything to talk about.
Oh, well, there were literally at 6:30 tonight, there was 2 things in the show notes. And I was like, but then I started, I always sit down and I think, okay, what's going on in my world this week that's tech related? And thank God I stay busy tech wise. So it just kind of keeps me going. Remind everyone, of course, if a couple times I mentioned this, but if you want to contact us, you got some ideas, some things you want to do, send us an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. Love to hear from you. Don't forget you can support us financially on Patreon, and I appreciate all of the men and women who support us out there as well. I appreciate that on Patreon. Go to theaverageguy.tv and search for the Patreon link, or you can go to theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. That'll get you there as well. Plans are $1. Just a great way to stay up to date with everything that's going on. I just appreciate it. You get nothing for it, but except the satisfaction that you're helping us out. I turn those dollars into whatever we need to keep things going on here and to keep doing the podcast. So I appreciate you doing that as well. And now I just got the bill for the Spreaker apps, right? I've been saying these are mobile apps are sponsored by our Patreon subscribers, and they're $200. And to get both of them done, they're free to you. They cost me $200. It'll be nice. Patreon stuff that comes in, I don't spend it all the second it comes in. It sits in the account and waits for some kind of something that we need. And so that took care of it this month. So I appreciate you guys doing that on Patreon. Don't forget the AverageGuy.tv platform, both web and media hosting, powered by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. I think Christian and I are going to try and do a quick podcast on next Monday. So it's just getting schedules lined up. But of course, visit maplegrovepartners.com. Plans start as little as $10 a month. Just amazing hosting. And get that done. maplegrovepartners.com. I mentioned the app already, so thanks for doing that. HomeGadgetGeeks.com. If you're new to the network, you can download that. Best way to listen live or on the road, especially on the road, because finding a podcast when you're traveling and you want to listen live, impossible. I mean, you could come to theaverageguy.tv/live and click on the Spreaker link and do it that way. But that's even that on a phone is kind of ugly. Yeah. Just download our app and have it. That way, if you're on the road and you want to listen live or after the fact and whatever, just have it. It's a good way to have. It doesn't cost you anything, and it doesn't store anything. It's all streaming, so you can get it done. We talked about the shirts. You can still get an AverageGuy.tv shirt. I need to get with Addie to see if we can get the long sleeve shirts for the winter going. you want to get a short sleeve shirt before we take them down, head over to theaverageguy.tv/shirt. Those will be available for a little while longer as we put them out there. The newsletter, Mike, I think I'm 4 weeks in a row on the newsletter. I think
you are. Yeah.
I think. And I got the schedule out last week. You asked.
I know it's a schedule one. Yeah.
Boom. We'll
Right
keep that.
there.
We'll keep it going. So if you want to know what's coming up or what we're talking about, and we have a whole bunch of guests coming up. Really cool one. In November, John Larson's coming back, but John's going to remote control a telescope, and we're going to do some. We're gonna do some night viewing through a telescope live here on the show.
Really?
Yeah.
He can get that into the show.
He's got all the equipment.
That's pretty cool
to make that happen. And it's like, listen, this isn't Hubble. Okay.
Yeah. But it's still cool.
No Crab Nebula. Like, we're not seeing aliens. But it's really cool. So he's going to be with us. If it's cloudy here in Omaha that night, he said he can remote into some others that are in spots where it's clear. So kind of cool. Well, the cool thing is he's the equipment around this, he's using a Raspberry Pi to kind of control, and he bought a new motorized where you program it to say, hey, here's the GPS location, here's the time it is right now, here's the, and it sets itself to the stars. So you just go on your phone and say, I want to go here, and the thing
really
rotates right to where Saturn is, and you can see it. That's
I'm
pretty
excited.
cool.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah. No, I was talking to him today about that. I was like, John, that's cool. Let's talk about that. So he's going to come on here. I think early November is what we're shooting that for. If you're not on the newsletter, head out to theaverageguy.tv/newsletter. Get signed up for it. I send out an announcement when the show comes out. Anything, if there's any deals going on, I'll drop those in there, and then links to the upcoming shows coming up as well. We are live every Thursday. Oh, and I should say, man, I cooked tonight. HelloFresh. I cooked whole thing, beginning to end. Boom. We had steak, and we
good,
dude. I don't know why more people are not doing HelloFresh. Like, I can't. What do I got to do? Like, what do I got to say? Listen, there's no benefit. There's no financial benefit in this for me. Like, but it has changed just the way I cook and what I do. And like, I try things now. We had this, I made this baked, it was like a sweet potato and shallots and tomatoes. Like cherry tomatoes are sliced in half, and some cilantro and some, like, I would never put those things together, like, ever, not in a million years. And tonight, boom, it's a done deal. And so I think, you can move up and down on the orders. You can order 2 meals for 2 people, or 2 meals for 4 people, or actually I think it needs to be 3 meals for 4 people, but you can move around on it. They got good pricing. I can get you basically your first week for free. So send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. I got a whole stack. Like, I have a stack of coupons here. They're just begging me to give away. They're trying to get you hooked on it, and they got me hooked on it. Right. That's what they're trying to do. No, full disclosure.
Because you can't use them again once you're already, those are for like new customers, right?
These are new customers. I can't use them.
Right.
I can't use them. I do have a code that it's a little bit less and I get a little bit out of it, but I've been just trying to get rid of just the straight coupon codes. Like, I'm trying to tell you, like, if your eating is terrible and you're struggling with menus and like your food is boring, like, do something different. And this HelloFresh is a great way to do it. Blue Apron is another one, by the way. I'm not tied to HelloFresh. I don't care. They don't sponsor the show. They probably should. I'm just saying, like, it's like changed the way I look at food.
Yeah.
Like, and now that I'm doing some of the cooking too, like, it's changed the way my daughter learned how to cook this summer on it. And 2, it's changed the way I look at like food prep and food preparation. Like, oh, I didn't know I could do that.
Right.
Tonight we were cooking
that confidence that you might not have had before.
It does. No, right on. Tonight I was cooking the steak, and I was pan cooking it, and I remembered, I'd watched this Gordon Ramsay thing where he'd use butter, and I had some extra garlic actually that I had minced up myself. Like, who minces garlic anymore? Yeah. So I minced up some garlic, threw the garlic in there with the butter, and I wish I'd had some jalapenos that I had minced up, and we hadn't used them all, and I tossed them because we weren't going to use them. I wish I'd thrown those in there with it as well, and just, oh my God.
Would have been good.
Yeah. No. Anyways. And they give you these big ass recipe cards. I mean, they're gigantic. It's like recipes for idiots.
Is it like an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper kind of
Yes.
thing? Okay.
Yeah, they like pictures like here's the picture of a onion.
Well, that's good because I wouldn't have known.
Well, most of us don't. Like we have gotten so far away from that. Like when we think good cooking is Applebee's, like we've gotten so far away from that. I just every time I do this tonight, it was just delightful, to chop and cut and get it ready and make it. And Sarah came home. She's like, "You want any help?" I'm like, "I got this." And it felt good. Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah. No, it's pretty
I'll
cool.
give it a shot at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
the
if
first time Hannah goes for like a week vacation by herself without me and I have to cook for myself, then
well, if you ordered 3, you would have 6 meals because it's there for 2 people. So you can basically make it that night, eat half of it, have the other half for lunch the next day, repeat, or save it for leftovers for the next night, right?
Yeah.
Or mix it up, right? Make them, save them, eat them, whatever. It's just great stuff. And again, like I said, it's new stuff I normally would not do. So if you want to do that, Jim at theaverageguy.tv. We're live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern out here at theaverageguy.tv/live. We'd love to have you come out and join us live for the live show. Want to thank Mike and Emily. Ken was out here earlier. Nick's Ops is out here now. Welcome. Tony, Ron, good to see you out here. Other Jim, Kevin, Schoonover, Peter, and everybody else who joined us tonight. We're going to do some crypto in the post show. You can't get the post show. Well, you can get it anywhere now too. Actually, you got to head out to Patreon. If you're new and you're like, hey, what are these crypto things? Just head out to our Patreon, theaverageguy.tv/Patreon, and you can listen to them for free. I just put them out there, and you can stream them from there, or you can download them. Either way. We'll be back next Thursday. Got a full slate of programs ahead for you. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.